The reason I joined this company, when I got to meet the leadership team, but also understand the data assets that they had, one of those problems that every marketer has is understanding how are consumers consuming their ads, how are they consuming content. And there's so many disparate sources of data, and trying to string those all together was a huge problem for me in my previous role, and all the leadership at every agency, every advertiser. It's something that just hasn't been cracked. I think there's lots of ways with duct tape and gum and spit to put it together to have a probabilistic view of how consumers are being touched by content and advertising across all these different screens. What I saw at Samba, though, was this really unique data set. Our technology is integrated in the chips that are going into connected televisions all over the world. We work with 9 of the leading manufacturers, so when they're shipped from the factory, our technology is already embedded in those TVs. And what it is it's content identification. So it's not using an app, it's not looking at any other third party. When a consumer turns their television on for the first time up on their wall, they go through, they opt in, and what that opens the door to is now data that understands all video coming through the glass. And consumers have a lot of choice, right? You can use your Roku, your Apple TV, your Amazon, your Google, your traditional cable set-top box, apps within your television, or even an HD antenna to pick up television. So our view was we needed to understand the video content coming through the television. So as that video signal comes through the TV, video game or any sort of ad-supported or non-ad supported TV content, we're able to recognize that.
So walk us through the data set a little bit,
Yeah.
how you get it. I'm sure you deal with privacy issues.
Yeah.
And how that kind of is packaged or used by,
Sure.
by marketers and their agencies.
Yeah, so as I was mentioning, when a consumer opens up, takes their TV out of the box, puts it on the wall, during the setup process, we have an opt-in. Very explicitly explains what the data is being used for, the consumer benefit of recommendations and discovery of content on your TV, and then the advertising applications. So we have over a 90% opt-in rate. All of the data that we collect is 100% opt-in. We don't collect any personally identifiable information, so no PII. It is all device IDs and IP address. So with that data, this is sub-second level data of everything that's being viewed on a TV and at scale. We've got over 10 million homes that we're collecting data from in the US today. We then build products and services on top of it. So one of them is targeting. Think about how valuable it'd be to know in real time what a household is being exposed to, advertising or even non-ad supported content, and then being able to personalize a message to them on a mobile device, on a desktop, on a tablet in real time. Over 70% of Americans are second screening as they're watching TV. What's on their second screen may be totally unrelated to what they're watching on TV, but it is a dual consumption going on. So the ability to then personalize that message, either an extension of your message on TV or a conquest message. So imagine an event like the Super Bowl, where maybe somebody has an exclusive for a particular category, being able to send a competitive message to that consumer as they're being exposed to that ad on TV. Pretty powerful. So targeting is one of the areas that we help advertisers, agencies help to refine the way they reach consumers and help to amplify what they do on TV. That advertiser could be a television network. So television networks are very competitive with each other. They're trying to get people to tune into their programming. So that visibility into how people are watching television, what kind of content they're consuming, and then being able to use that data to advertise to consumers to drive them in to watch their programs, whether it be Netflix, Amazon, or your traditional TV networks like MTV or USA Network. So those are use cases for targeting consumers based on their behavior. The other side of the business is then understanding what that exposure leads to the consumer behavior and ultimately down to purchase. So our data in understanding how people have been exposed to ads on television, we also work with advertisers to be able to collect data from their digital campaigns, and then how that's all drawing back to some conversion event, whether it's a site visit or a purchase in the online environment, and even have some partnerships to look at offline. So marrying those two worlds of data, digital and television data together, to have a real deterministic view of how consumers have been exposed on a one-to-one basis, and then what they're doing with that. And that hasn't been available in the marketplace up to today. It's been disparate set-top box data that gives a small snapshot of people's behavior in the kind of content that they're viewing at home. Small panels out there used to be determine behavior of a very large audience with a very small representative sample of that. But there just hasn't been that connection point for the consumer of everything that they're doing with television content on their TV or through these alternative devices.
So Dan, just let me understand something. So suppose I have a Samsung and I opened it up and I opted in. I happen to have an Audi, or I happen to have a Ford, or I happen to be looking for a refrigerator. Is there a way the system can actually, through some other identification, know on a more one-to-one basis who I am and serve ads, or is it really more like buying audiences or niches? Or?
Well, so think of the television being the master key. It's a persistent device in your household. Yeah. It's connected to the IP address, it's connected to the internet. That's not something that you put in your pocket and you leave the house with. So it's on your wall, it's always there. What we've done with our proprietary device map is then we have mapped that to all of the other devices in the household. Very personal devices like a cell phone, like a tablet, that are not a shared device like a television. So you have that view into the household and what's being consumed, and use that as a trigger to then advertise in a more personalized and a more targeted, a more addressable basis to those devices. So for your use case, if you own a Ford, or I am Ford and I'm trying to reach the in-market SUV buyer, I know what that household is watching on television, what ads they may be exposed to. I also mapped all those devices in the household. So now I can layer on third-party data, like demographic data, like ownership data. We work with Epsilon, we work with Experian to be able to enrich that data with very specifics about the people in the household, and then send targeted ads to those devices. So you may have a whole family that's watching, but you can filter that down to the device that's connected with the consumer, that is the one that you want to reach, that's going to make that purchase decision, or that you want to put yourself into consideration for.
And Dan, finally, you have an interesting perspective on advanced TV, where things are going, programmatic TV. We hear a lot about addressable.
Yeah.
What Verizon's doing. We hear a lot, obviously, about AT&T and the potential acquisition. Looking a year out, what do you think targeted advertising on a one-to-one addressable, either to the cable box, if there is a cable or satellite box or an IP device, where do things move in terms of addressable TV advertising?
The advertising follows the content. So every day, all of these companies that you just referenced are creating products that are more personalized and more addressable in the way that you select your content, the channels that you select within your bundle, or the individual content sources like an HBO Now, Netflix, Amazon. All of them are creating these more personalized packages of content. So I think the advertising then follows that. So the more choice the consumer has in personalizing the way they get the content, then you have more data and you have a more personalized environment to send them targeted addressable ads. So I think that you're going to see continued expansion of traditional household addressable via the set-top box. And as each one of these big telcos or big distributors or even big content creators create those more personalized packages that a consumer can buy, then the addressable advertising products will follow that.